Hi there, this is Ron Rogers, and welcome to my recently renamed Flying Adventures with Captain Ron. Now, as some of you may know who've been with the channel for a while, I was a chase pilot. One of the many things I was fortunate enough to do was I was a chase pilot out at the Air Force Flight Test Center, Edwards Air Force Base, in the mid to late 70s, and that was just an absolutely interesting and great time. There was a lot going on. Now, this is the historic sign that was there when I was there. It's in a museum now, and they replaced it with a fancy brick sign and stuff like that. But this was back in the heyday of flight test, and there was a lot going on. And I was senior flight examiner in Wing Stanovel, and one of the things I did was I gave instruction, and I also flew chase missions on a lot of aircraft, and I also instructed people on flying chase and gave chase check rides. Now, we had the A-10, the B-1, the F-16, the F-15, the F-5E. I did a lot with that, and there was just a lot going on. We used the T-38. We had about 20 of these, and I, of course, would sit in the front seat. The instructor typically sits in the back, but on chase mission, I sit in the front, and we put a photog in the back, and, of course, with that nice canopy, they get absolutely cool pictures. And it was an extremely cheap, easy to maintain, well-flying aircraft, and it worked great. Now, there are a lot of chase missions that were really interesting, and each chase mission really was or could be very different. It was kind of amazing. It was almost like there were no two chase missions alike. Some chase missions you can talk about. A lot of them have classified material, so you can talk in generality. Some chase missions the people can't talk about till decades later. But the chase missions can vary from really the kind of mundane. This was some publicity photograph with the F-16, and there you see the little T-38 chase on the side there. And that's an easy mission. Another one was I was on as chase, one of two chases. This was when they did the first performance evaluation between the 15 and the 16. We had an F4 and myself as area and photo chases. Now, one of the things that's interesting, and you have to be careful of, is chasing supersonic aircraft because these shock waves, if they get in on your engine intake, they can cause you a world of hurt. And let me tell you, if you have a loss of thrust supersonic, it is like hitting a brick wall. And one of the more interesting aircraft I chased was the B-1, the A models back then, the four white ones. We lost one in a crash, and I talk about that in another video. But I would be tucked up under the engines chasing weapons separation from the various bomb bays. And one mission was very fast, very low, and we had a SRAM that didn't fire, and it can bounce off the desert and actually come back because we're so low and actually hit the aircraft. So that was an interesting time. And there were just a lot of different varieties of chase. I did a lot of ejection sheet testing for the F-18, and that was just fun. You get to know the pilot flying the lead aircraft. We get to be good friends and stuff like that. And a lot of the things involved with weapon separation, they would do mathematical modeling and use computers. Now, back then, the computers were just prehistoric by today's standards, so the modeling wasn't very good back then. You use wind tunnel modeling, and you would do the wind tunneling model of the separation, and you could see if anything looked really screwy. And most of the time, it worked, but stuff would still get through, and that's why we had to do actual physical chase, because we had to clear the entire envelope where a weapon system could be carried, used, dropped, or even jettisoned. So there was a lot of things that we had to look at and cover. And one of the things in training is we had some videos, and these, of course, were kept close to the vest back then because they didn't paint a good light on the military when things go wrong. But these are really classic videos, and I'm going to talk about these in just a second. But the thing we had to do is we had to do weapon separation, and I did a lot on the 15, the 16, the A-10, the B-1, everything like that. And some of the most fun ones were the Maverick launches out of the F-16, because, man, that's a big rocket, and that thing just took off like you wouldn't believe. But here, let me show you some really classic films that'll get the hair standing on you. Of course, weapon separate. Now this is the F-15. We're fairly advanced by then, but things don't always go right. Oh, and this is classic. This is an A-37. I flew the A-37 as a fighter pilot. The fins, you notice, if you're familiar with this aircraft, they're different now. They had trouble with the tank jettison. This is an auxiliary tank on the wing station, and it didn't like to fall away nicely. And look at that. It comes right under the tail. It could take that off. Now this one, it looks pretty good. The F-111 jettison test, not too bad. It's separating, but with the airflow, it comes back and it causes a really bad problem with the F-111. Of course, here's a multiple ejector rack. Things are not coming off as well. It's the airflow interference that causes the weapon to come back, and this has very bad results. And one thing as a chase pilot now that's very important is your position on the lead aircraft, because if he's dropping something, you want to be in a position where you're not going to get hit by it, because if this thing comes off and it hits you, that can have extremely, obviously disastrous results, and you'll see that in this video. See that? It came off. It hit the chase aircraft. That does not make your day there. That is an extremely bad thing. And here's another view of it. So the weapon comes off, and it goes back, and the chase is not in a good position, and it just does not work out well. So those are some very famous pieces of footage. I want to thank you for watching. Appreciate it, and hope you liked it. Thanks for watching.